Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rachel and I'm a huge Eurovision fan as well as a musician. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you my predictions for semi-final 2, so who I think is going to qualify and who I don't think is going to qualify, and these are my final predictions. So I'm going to compare what I predicted tomorrow with the actual results, and I'm hoping to at least get about 7 or 6 of these because this semi-final is just so much more open. But first I'm going to give a little bit of a recap of semi-final 1, because I'm finally home after coming back from Liverpool today and I've had a chance to kind of think things over a little bit. So semi-final 1 went really well. My personal predictions, I got 9 out of 10 and I was really pleased with those. So the only one I got wrong was Malta. I think a lot of people have been quite upset that Malta didn't qualify, because I watched back the footage on YouTube and it looked really good and it just had a great reaction from the crowd. So it's probably because the diaspora didn't really come through. There probably wasn't many people voting for this in as big numbers as I expected, so it might have been borderline. We'll see what happens in the results when they get released. I think also Latvia really upset me that they didn't qualify. I think they had a standout performance both in the arena and in the YouTube clip, so what you guys would have watched at home. But I did notice when I was trying to really kind of like listen hard to Latvia's performance, there was just so many people around me who just weren't vibing with this at all. They were just sort of sitting there or standing, going to the toilet, just disappearing off, and no one was like really invested in this entry. So I did think to myself at the time of them performing, I don't think this is qualifying, and it's such a shame. But you know, this is why we need juries, I think, in the semi-final, because I know there's some controversy about the rigging and things like that, but then their purpose also helps acts like, you know, Sudden Lights get to the final. And then there's a couple more that I've got in this semi-final for tomorrow that I think the juries would have saved, but unfortunately they probably won't qualify, so we'll see. But the standouts of the night was definitely Sweden. Firstly, they did an incredible live performance and it was well received in the arena. Finland was definitely like the arena's, I think, favourite. The response was immense from the crowd. There was so many cheers, people were jumping up out of their seats when Finland qualified. It was just like the atmosphere, it was like a unanimous like for Finland, which I really thought was great, because this song has been described as quite polarizing. It's like a love or hate kind of thing, but just to see this collective unanimous love for Finland yesterday solidified my opinions that the song's probably going to get a really good televote score in the final, so that's really interesting to see. Israel was also received really well by the crowd. She got a lot of cheers. And Norway as well was an interesting one, so the crowd really enjoyed it. But when I listened in on the whistle tone, at the time, I thought it sounded like she sang an F instead of an E. And I thought, has she overshot the note there? But I thought, oh, because I'm in the crowd, you know, I might be hearing this wrong. Because the sound quality that you hear in the crowd is very different from what you get on the television. But then when I watched it back, she actually did overshoot the note, so she missed basically the whistle tone by a semitone, and she just went a little bit too high. So hopefully they'll fix that in the final, and because the juries could potentially dock marks off that, because she did, you know, it's a big note, it's the show off note of the whole song, and if you miss it, you miss it, you know. But otherwise everything else was great. The show was great. You know, the vibe, just the host city in general was amazing. There was just so much things to do, just a really welcoming hospitality from everyone in Liverpool. So yeah, I think they've been smashing it. So now let's move on to my semi-final 2 qualifiers. So similarly to my other video, I'm just going to start from who I think is going to win the semi-final, work my way down, and then I'm going to tell you my non-qualifiers, and you'll see basically who's 10th place and who's 11th place. So I'm going to start with the country that I think is going to win semi-final 2. This has been a bit of a mind change for me after seeing basically the rehearsal footage today. Armenia. So Armenia have a very, very interesting staging concept with their just LED colour scheme, very slow moving camera work, great stage presence of brunette, and also they're bringing in this dance break which looks and sounds so good from what I've seen on YouTube. So I think this one, despite it being in the slot of death, could win the semi-final just from televotes only. It's very memorable. I'll be excited to see how this one places, because if it doesn't win the semi-final, I still think it's going to do really well, and it's going to kind of break that chain of being second in the running order as like a bad thing. So I hope that brunette can do that for us. But right now I think Armenia's qualifying and they're going to do very well. And then I think in second place we're going to have Australia. So they're closing the show, they're bringing this fire, this passion that I think a lot of the acts before it won't have had, and it's going to wake up the crowd so much. And I think the people at home are really going to enjoy this. It's universal, it's a friendly song, it gets your foot tapping, and I think people will come through and vote for this in big numbers. I wouldn't be surprised if this even wins the semi-final, because it's just such a great way to close the show. I think it would be quite epic actually if Australia wins the semi-final and then Finland won the semi-final yesterday, so then both show closers won. I think that will be so cool. But yeah, I'm very confident that Australia will qualify and they should hopefully get a respectable mark in the grand final as well. And then in third place I've got Austria, so Taya and Selena with Who the Hell is Edgar. Kind of like a while ago I did see this as like a potential winner of the semi-final, but I think the rehearsal clips have slightly kind of lost a bit of steam for the entry. I don't think the staging quite suits the song, and I think some of the camera shots feel a little bit slow. It also feels like some of their notes were a bit sharp as well. They need to really kind of like hone in on the harmonies and really make the vocals sound good. And that's how I think they will appeal to people, because the song itself already is televote friendly. But if they want to win this semi-final, it's got to be show-stopping, it's got to be note perfect, it's got to get people really invested in it. And if it's a little bit more sloppy, not as tight and as choreographed and as kind of slick as people were expecting it to be, as well as being quite a fun and jokey entry at the same time, if it's not hitting those marks, then people won't vote for it and they might be slightly disappointed, especially as some people might have already seen this performance in the music video. So, you know, you can't discount it. I still think it's going to do really well, but I'm not so sure about kind of winning the semi-final anymore. And then in fourth place, I have Slovenia, Joker Out with Carpe Diem. I'm very, very confident about this one's chances as well, because they're keeping it simple. They're keeping it full of chemistry in terms of all the band together. You know, the lead singer has so much charisma on stage. He works the camera. You know, he's bringing this great energy. And I do think this is going to have a big fan base. And just, you know, regardless of how they perform in this Eurovision, they're going to get an even bigger fan base afterwards. I expect Joker Out to kind of go a little bit more international than they were already. And I expect them to have like lots of gigs and maybe play festivals. I'm really excited to see, you know, the progression of their career after Eurovision. I see a lot of potential in that. But yeah, fourth I think is a kind of respectable bet for this one. It could do better or worse, but I don't see this not qualifying this year. And then in fifth place I have Lithuania, pretty much guaranteed to get 12 points from the UK as per basically every year. I think this one is good, the vocals sound great, and they're quite close to the end of the running order as well. So that should hopefully get them, you know, a bit more memorability. And I think when the recap comes along, I've seen this meme on Twitter about all the wine mums are going to come out and vote for this one, because it does have like this wine mum feel, doesn't it? But yeah, I think vocally it's just very strong. She's going to appeal to a lot of people because it's a very kind of charming song. It's quite a relatable song as well in terms of the lyrics. And it has this warmth about it, which some of the other entries don't. So I do think they have a good shot this year. Are doing quite well in the semi-final. So I'm expecting Lithuania to qualify. If they don't, I'll be very surprised. And then in sixth place in the semi-final, I've got Belgium. I think this one is going to do really well. Gustav also yesterday was at the Eurovision Village and I saw him perform live, and the crowd was really getting behind this one. It just had a great energy about it, and it's very catchy. And it also has this like great staging concept with the voga, with the backing performers as well. All their vocals merge so well together. It just looks really fun, and it's bringing this fun element, I think, in the running order, which will stand out, and I think the crowd will really get behind this one. So I'm quite confident Belgium's qualifying. I'd be very shocked if it doesn't go through. So yeah, I'm really rooting for this one. And I think sixth, some people might think that's a little bit high for this one, but I see this getting quite a good score. I do. So we'll see what happens. And then in seventh place, this is one I've been very confident about for a while, Albania. So the bookies I don't think have Albania in as a qualifier, but I do think this will get a decent public vote. There's not very many songs in the semi-final that this has to compete with in terms of the sound, the presentation, the backstory. It's all very unique. and it kind of has this nostalgic feel about it. It reminds me of Eurovisions in the 2000s in terms of these Balkan ballads, but with this kind of upbeat sound as well. It's very traditional, and the family element is unique, and I feel like if the voters are kind of made aware about what the song's about and the family being there, I think they could warm to this and vote for it. So if they qualify tomorrow, that will be fantastic. I mean, they do have a habit, Albania, of qualifying when no one expects them to. They did it in 2019, they did it in 2018, and they did it in 2021. So what's to say that they can't do it again this year? So we'll see what happens with this one. And then in 8th place, I have Georgia. So Eerie with Echo. Her rehearsal footage really impressed me in terms of the vocal performance. She can show us that she can sing this just like the studio track. Very, very great vocalist. So I am expecting this to get kind of like, it has a wow factor which people will vote for, and then hopefully in the final she'll get rewarded quite well by the juries just for the vocal performance. I do think the stage show is a little bit underwhelming in comparison to how the song sounds and how her vocals sound, but I do think it is enough to push them through, and it will break this long non-qualification streak. I think 2016 was the last time they went through, so it will be just a welcome presence in the final if they do qualify. And then in 9th place here, this one I was kind of like debating about because it's quite early on in the running order. It doesn't have too much going on the staging, but I think in terms of diaspora, in terms of neighbouring countries, Cyprus will probably qualify tomorrow night. Now the song does fall a bit flat for me sometimes. I find it quite predictable. Like I said, it's early on in the running order, but the vocals do sound good. And I think regardless of whether people think that he is singing or not, if he's relying on the playback, maybe that doesn't quite come across on camera and people won't be looking for that. They'll just be hearing this and kind of thinking this sounds really good, and then they might vote for it. So we'll see what happens. This is the one I'm quite like unsure about. I think 9th and 10th I'm really unsure about, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it does stand out in terms of how it sounds. You know, it's a slow song, but it's got like quite a heavy beat and it is catchy with the high notes. So we'll see, we'll see. And now I'm going to move on to my non-qualifiers. So I'll start from the country that I think is coming in 16th place. So last place, unfortunately, is Romania. This has been just kind of like drawing a blank with the press, who gave it I think 0% in the press poll. I think a lot of people have felt very lukewarm about it just because the staging looks bare. It doesn't look like it's elevating the song. The vocals do sound good, but everything else just falls really, really flat, and I just can't see the crowd vibing with this too much. He's not kind of delivering enough lighting, pyro, interesting camera work to get people excited. So I do expect this to come last, unfortunately. He does have a shot at not coming last. He might have some diaspora votes, and he might also have some neighbouring country votes to help him out. But yeah, the chances of this qualifying I think are very slim. And then in 15th place, unfortunately, I've got San Marino here. Pete Jacks with Like an Animal. They've really done a good job of elevating this from the national final performance. It looks much more slick, really great lighting, good camera cuts as well, which kind of have this energy that matches the track. But just when you think about all the other songs and you think about San Marino's kind of really poor televote history anyway, this really has not very much of a chance of qualifying. So unfortunately, I do think it's coming quite close to the bottom of this semi-final. And then in 14th place, this also breaks my heart here, Iceland. So I just feel like as much as she is a great singer and I really like the song, I just can't see this getting enough televote points to go through. I was wrong about Iceland last year with Sister. I had them as a non-qualifier and they went through. So I might be wrong about this one again, but I just can't picture this qualifying. It just feels like it's quite early. It might get a little bit lost, and perhaps it's not doing quite enough in terms of the beat. Is it punchy enough? Is it memorable enough? I don't know, but she's not coming last. I do expect her to get at least a couple of points from the UK. Yeah, but unfortunately 14th. And then another one that just completely breaks my heart as well here is Estonia. I've put them in 13th place. She sounds amazing. I really like the staging, but it's just the case of I'm going off what happened to Latvia. Latvia brought great staging, great vocals, but they were early on in the running order and it was just a ballad that a lot of people didn't vibe with. And I expect the same thing to happen, to be honest, to Estonia. As much as this has been staged really well, I just think it being so early on, it will be forgotten by the end of the show. And yeah, I just think this is the case where juries would have put this one through just from vocal prowess and her ability to sing really well live and to kind of convey great emotions on stage. Other than that, it just breaks my heart because it's such a good song. But my fears might be confirmed tomorrow, we'll see. And then coming 12th in the semi-final, I think, is Greece. So Victor Vernikos, with What They Say. So he already has a head start from Cyprus. He'll have 12 points, but I don't expect those 12 points to grow much further because the staging looks quite messy, the smoke is overwhelming, the vocals don't seem to be hitting as well as everyone expected, and he jumps around a lot, which kind of causes his vocals to fly around and not kind of stay crisp and clear and on the correct notes. So unfortunately, I really don't see this qualifying now. I really don't. I feel for him, he's so young. I think he's not been supported enough by the staging directors and the people who've come up with all these ideas. This could have looked really good if they had staged it in a different way, which showed off how young he is, but also allowed him to just relax and sing without jumping around. That's the main thing. That is the main thing. So I don't see this qualifying, but we'll see. I could be proved wrong tomorrow night. And then we've come down to the wire. So 10th and 11th place in the semi-final. So this one, I keep swapping them around. Denmark and Poland. I'm swapping them around and I'm swapping them around because I keep seeing rehearsal footage and doubting myself, but here is how I've got it right now. So in 10th place, and I say this very unfortunately, I think is Poland. This will make me so annoyed if it qualifies tomorrow night, and I know I'm not being impartial here, but just thinking about how we lost Latvia and even something like Azerbaijan, just their vocals and the songwriting, I think stronger than Poland. Poland, surrounded by controversy, she's relying heavily on playback. Bless her, you know, she's been doing this dance break to try and salvage the performance, okay? And they threw in all these Windows Movie Maker effects on top, which looked, I mean, I found it hilarious at first, but then looking back at it, it made me annoyed because I think Blanca has put together this choreography and worked hard on it probably, and now you can't actually see her dancing and you can't appreciate it. Because in the rehearsal clip, guys, when I saw her do her little dance break, you know, the one where it was just someone filming from the audience, so there was no effects on it, I thought, you know what, she's actually, like, she looks like she can do this choreography. And it looks neat. I wouldn't say it's to the level of like Israel or Spain last year, but still, it didn't look like a mess. It looked slick in some places, and you can't see it. They've covered it in effects. They've got this, you know, pink billowing smoke, this like bomb explosion effect going on as well, and it just cheapens it up so much. But I think the diaspora's coming through on this one. I really do. The amount of views this has been getting on TikTok, on YouTube for rehearsals, it's been blowing other countries out the water. I think she got more views than Norway, and I just think, yeah, this is going to get votes and she might sneak through. And it won't be welcome in my books into the final because there's better songs and better performances, but that is all I'm going to say about this. So that does leave Denmark in 11th place. Now Denmark, I think, has done a good staging concept. It looks great and it's a good show opener, but the vocals aren't hitting it. When I saw the rehearsal clip, I just thought, my goodness, you know, this falsetto, he's trying, but it's just coming across as a bit thin and weedy and just not kind of sounding as slick as the backing track does and as the staging looks. So there's a mismatch there. And as much as I think it will be a good show opener, perhaps people won't vote for it as much. And I think Poland has the edge in terms of diaspora. That's all I think it is. But I could be proved wrong. We'll see what happens. So I feel really bad. I really just I don't want to be a hater. I don't want to come across as kind of someone that's, you know, bitter or something, but I just think, you know, there's other songs here. It's like if Poland goes in over Estonia, over Iceland, even over San Marino, which I think they've got this stage presence and good ability to, the lead singer is a great singer, you know. I just think it would make me feel angry and upset, but that's just how I feel. I don't know. But yeah, there we have it, my potential qualifiers for tomorrow night, starting with Armenia, Australia, Austria, Slovenia, Lithuania, Belgium, Albania, Georgia, Cyprus and Poland. And the countries missing out: Denmark, Greece, Estonia, Iceland, San Marino and Romania. So let me know down below the countries that you think are going through tomorrow night. Stay tuned because I will be reacting to those qualifiers live, and yeah, more to come. Bye.